Alright, now the plant cell. Plants may seem simple from the outside, but on the inside they are made up of millions of hard-working cells, each doing a specific job to help the plant survive and thrive. So what's even cooler is that despite their different roles, all plant cells share the same basic structure. Let me break it down for you. First, let's talk about what makes a plant cell unique. Plant cells are eukaryotic, which means they have a nucleus, the control center of the cell, and organelles, which are like specialized compartments, each with a specific function. So here's a little analogy to help you picture it. Think of a plant cell as a factory. The nucleus is the manager's office, where all the instructions are given, and the organelles are the departments within a factory, each taking care of a particular task. For example, one department handles production, another manages packaging, and another oversees transport. It's a perfectly coordinated system. Now, all plant cells have these organelles suspended in a jelly-like material called cytoplasm, which fills the entire cell. Some key organelles you should know about include chloroplasts. This is where photosynthesis happens, making food for the plant. Think of chloroplast as the plant's solar panels, capturing sunlight and turning into energy. Then mitochondria, which is often called as the powerhouse of the cell. This is where energy is generated. Without mitochondria, the plant wouldn't have the fuel to survive. Then vacuoles. These are the storage centers holding water and nutrients. Imagine a giant warehouse storing supplies for the plant to use whenever needed. But that's not all. Plant cells also have a plasma membrane which surrounds the cell and acts like a gatekeeper. It decides what gets in and what stays out. For example, water and nutrients are allowed in, but waste is kept out, just like a well-functioning security system. And now for something truly unique to plant cells, their cell wall. Unlike animal cells, plant cells have this tough outer layer made of cellulose. It gives the cell its shape and provides structural support. To put it into perspective, the cell wall is like a brick wall of the building. It keeps the structure upright and strong, helping the plant grow tall and resist damage from the environment. Plant cells mature, they become specialized for different jobs. Some cells focus on photosynthesis, like the ones in leaves. Others, like root cells, specialize in absorbing water and nutrients from the soil. It's like having a team where each member is an expert in a specific role, working together to keep the plant alive. Now, why are all these features so important? Well, think about it. The cell wall and organelles are what allow plants to do incredible things like growing tall, making their own food, and adapting to different environments. For example, without chloroplast, the plant couldn't perform photosynthesis and create food from sunlight. Without vacuoles, they couldn't store water to survive during dry seasons, like how cacti do in deserts. So, here's the big takeaway. While all plant cells share a similar structure, they become specialized as they mature, allowing plants to function efficiently and survive in all kinds of conditions. And that's what makes them so amazing. Now, before we wrap up this slide, let me ask, are you curious about specific organelles and what they do? If yes, let's keep going because there is so much to explore. Alright everyone, let's dive into the fascinating world of biological membranes, also known as the gatekeepers of the cell. Think of membranes as the invisible but powerful bouncers at the entrance of an exclusive club. They control who gets in, who stays out, and even what happens inside. Without them, cells would be in chaos. So, what exactly are biological membranes? Simply put, they surround all cells, forming a barrier between the inside of the cell, the cytoplasm, and the outside world. The plasma membrane is like the outer boundary of the cell. Its job is to control what enters and what leaves, like a security system. But membranes don't stop there. They all surrounded internal structures called organelles, managing the movement of molecules in and out of these compartments. It's a highly organized system. Now let's talk about how membranes work. Ever heard of the Fluid-Mosaic model? It's the idea that membranes are made of flexible layer of phospholipids, a special kind of fat with proteins embedded in them. Picture a mosaic, beautiful and complex, but in this case, it's dynamic, always moving. The proteins embedded in this sea of phospholipids make up about half the membrane's mass and perform crucial roles like transport, communication, and signaling. So, what are these phospholipids and why are they so important? These molecules are the building blocks of membranes. Each phospholipid has two parts: a hydrophilic or water-loving head that contains a phosphate group and loves to interact with water. Two hydrophobic, a water-hating tails made of fatty acids that avoid water. Here's the cool part. When you put phospholipids in water, they automatically form a bilayer. Why? The hydrophilic heads face outward towards the water, while the hydrophobic tails huddle together on the inside, away from water. It's like they instinctively know how to organize themselves to keep water out and in the right places. Amazing, isn't it? So now let's explore one of their most important properties, fluidity. Membranes aren't rigid, they are flexible and dynamic. The secret lies in the phospholipids themselves. Some have unsaturated fatty acid tails with kinks in them. These kinks prevent the phospholipids from packing too tightly. And fluidity is essential. Without it, processes like molecule transport and cell signaling wouldn't happen. Here is a real world example of why this matters. In cold temperatures, plants increase the percentage of unsaturated fatty acids in their membranes. Why? To maintain fluidity. Like adding oil to a machine to keep it running smoothly in the winter. Without this adaptation, their membranes would freeze up and the cells wouldn't function properly. Now let's look at plant cells specifically. Did you know that their plastin membranes, like those in chloroplast, are a bit unique? Instead of using phospholipids as their main component, they use something called glycosylglycerides. Why is this important? It's a specialized adaptation for photosynthesis. Chloroplasts are their powerhouse of photosynthesis, so their membranes need to be optimized for that job. Let me give you a fun analogy to tie it all together. Imagine a biological membrane as a bustling airport terminal. The phospholipid bilayer is like the walls and floors that keep everything contained and organized. The embedded proteins are like the gates and staff, managing the flow of passengers or molecules in and out. Some proteins are security checkpoints, others are boarding gates, and some are information desks, ensuring the whole system runs smoothly. So, what's the big takeaway here? Biological membranes are not just barriers, they are dynamic, flexible, and absolutely essential for life. They regulate what comes in and out of the cell, provide structure, and allow the cell to communicate with its environment. Without them, life as we know it wouldn't exist. So let's keep going.